Hello, fairy finders and fairy seekers. It is the day before Halloween, and we are going to do the Black Cauldron Surprise food preparation here for the fairies. We're using potatoes and broccoli and cauliflower, cabbage, and carrots. And we're going to cook everything in spring water because they're not used to fluoride, I'm sure, and we'll be cooking it in this pan. So everything that goes into this Black Cauldron Surprise needs to be chopped small and fine, and probably a little bit smaller even than what I have done here. However, once it cooks, it will be soft enough that a lot of it will fall apart as it gets stirred. So I am going to speed up this portion of the video so that you do not have to watch me go through 15 minutes of chopping. Okay, so now with all the chopping done, we just need to put our mixture into the pan, into the water, the spring water that we added previously. And once that's done, just kind of swirl it around a little bit, make sure it's mixed. And then we need to add some spices. So we're going to add some salt, a little bit of sea salt, and some Cajun seasoning for a little bit of flavoring. Not adding a lot of that. Might look like it, but not adding a lot. And then we're going to add a little bit of garlic powder. Sprinkling that a little bit in there, not a ton. So that is what we are going to use for seasoning, and just mix it up in the pan. This will just allow it to not be a bland flavor. So now on the stove, and put the fire up, or like medium, so that it will boil. Then we can come back and start working on the honey and the bread. So we have the container for the bread and the 2 containers for the honey. And we also have the organic, turn it right side up, raw honey that we're going to use. We're just going to put the honey in these little cups. That will make it easy for dipping of the bread, or they can put the bread and the honey on their little plates. It's totally up to them. There's bowls for the Cauldron Surprise stew, so they can do whatever they'd like with the plates. So make sure these are filled all the way to the top. Honey is very popular amongst the fairies, from what I understand. Then we're going to just take a piece of tin foil, small strip, that'll fit over the top of each of these little cups that are holding the honey. That way we can set it on the picnic table until tomorrow and not worry about anything getting in it that shouldn't be in it. So then we can move on to the bread now. But first I'm going to add a little bit of tin foil in the bottom, or actually this is the lid of this container that I've just turned upside down. But just add a piece of tin foil onto this so that the bread sits on that tin foil and not on the lid itself. You of course don't have to do this. I just feel better about doing it. It feels cleaner to me for some reason. The lid is clean, but this just feels cleaner to me. Maybe the presentation is just a little nicer for the fairies. So once I've done that, I'm just going to open the bread and cut off the end piece of the bread, because that way pretty much every piece will not only have bread, but it will also have crust. So with my bread knife, I'm going to gently saw through the end part of this long piece of French bread. And I'll show you here. Didn't cut off a whole lot. Not a whole lot is needed. And then we're going to cut these into small strips first, and then we'll cut them into smaller pieces of bread. Cut those strips into smaller pieces of bread. And that way there's plenty of bread here, and they can dunk it in the honey if that's what they wish to do, or the stew, or both. So here we are. We're going to cut them into smaller pieces. And once all of them are cut into smaller pieces, they will fit in the little container that I'm using as a bread box for them. And I probably could turn it the other way so more would fit in there, and I may end up doing that. But for now, the presentation is, I would like it to be really nice for the fairies. Sounds like the Cauldron Surprise is boiling, so we're going to go over and give it a good stir. Get it going and just give it a chance to really cook up nicely. And then we're going to turn the fire down and put the lid on and let the Black Cauldron Surprise simmer. So we can go back to our bread. And I'm going to put the bread in the container, the little pieces that I've cut now. Just kind of piling it up in there and putting as many pieces in there as I can, which is why I say it might have been smarter to use the other side to put the bread in. And if I have to change that, I will for Halloween night. So here I've just taken the spare bread and put it in the leftover tinfoil that I had, so that if I need to replace bread during the Halloween night sessions, it'll be right there and waiting and ready. Back to the stew now. We're going to see how well it is simmering. Oh, look at that, simmering, and it smells good. It actually smells really good. So we're going to give it a bit of a stir again, just to distribute the heat evenly. And then we're going to put the lid back on and let it simmer for about another 15-20 minutes. So while we're waiting for the Black Cauldron Surprise, I thought I would show you what the table looks like now that we have the bread, the honey, and I've added dark chocolate Hershey Kisses also. So this is what will greet the fairies on Halloween night. There will also be the Black Cauldron Surprise stew in the cauldron with the fire lit underneath to keep it warm. Back to the Cauldron Surprise. There it is. It's been simmering for about 15-20 minutes, giving it a quick stir. And we're going to put it into a small container. And look at that purple juice from the cabbage. High vibrational deliciousness for the fairies. So we're going to leave this sit out for a little bit until it cools, and then we'll put the lid on it and put it in the refrigerator until tomorrow night, Halloween. And one last thing, I decided to make one change or addition before Halloween night, and that's this door that my grandson and I made some time back. It just seemed like it would fit. So we're going to give as many portal opportunities to the fairies as we can. So we now have the door and we have the water So that should suffice. The only thing I had to do was move the crow, and I moved him over by the ghost and the owl and the blue chair that was moved yesterday. And I was going to retake this picture, but from a Halloween standpoint, it's a pretty neat looking picture. So we are ready. The Faerie Circle is ready, finally. And I am very much looking forward to doing the necrophonic session, the videos, the photographs, and seeing what fairies decide to come and grace us with their presence. So I hope that you have a very safe Halloween. I would love to do this live, but perhaps next year. Until November 1st, when you see the video of what happens Halloween night, take care.